Nag-shifting ba kayo kanina?
Sa umaga po.
Pero yung 12 wala.
Wala po.
Okay. Sige. Medyo nakahinga kayo ng lunch. So anyway, again, good afternoon, Section B. I am Dr. Borlaza. So my task for today is to discuss the histology of the female reproductive organs. Okay, Dr. Matthews has already discussed with you the male, tama, kanina? Or hindi pa?
Yes po. Yes po.
Tapos na. But may nag-laboratory na rin kayo on female?
Later pa po.
Later pa. Okay. So mas maganda kasi mauna yung lecture with the laboratory. So the laboratory will just actually support the laboratory part with regards to the female reproductive system. So what we are going to talk about now will be the theoretical aspect of the female reproductive system. So in our lecture, we will be discussing the layers and histology of the female reproductive system, including the ovaries, the uterus, the fallopian tubes, the cervix, and the vagina. Okay, we will also discuss ovarian follicular development and be able to correlate ovarian and menstrual cycles in response to the hormonal levels, which is secondary to the production or secretion of these hormones by primarily the ovaries. Okay, we will also talk about different and most common clinical conditions affecting the female reproductive system. Okay, so our female reproductive organs are responsible for production of the gametes, the female gametes, production of steroidal sex hormones, which are functions of the ovaries. When we say steroidal sex hormones, it contains your estrogen and progesterone. Okay, this is the primary hormones or the major hormones that a woman produced. Okay, but we also produce testosterone at a minimal levels only. Okay? The uterus, specifically, the function lang niyan is to hold the fetus as it grows and be ready to be delivered pagka matured na yung fetus. Okay? The menstruation or the sloughing off of the endometrium are just actually secondary to the response to hormones. So ang role lang ng uterus is bahay bata. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na bahay bata. Okay? Because it holds the embryo for complete development until birth. Okay? So as we go along, you will be hearing the terms menarche at saka menopause. Okay? When you say menarche, it is the first menstruation. Actually, this menarche or this menstruation is the last event that will happen in a woman's second development of secondary sexual characteristics. Okay? Secondary sexual characteristics starts with breast budding when you are at around 8 years old. Okay? So from a child na naglalaro ng nakahubad-hubad sa labas, sa kalsada, hindi nahihiya, magiging conscious ka na. You start to wear baby bras, okay, kasi nga nagkakaroon na ng breast budding. After that, after the breast budding, you will observe na meron ng, siguro mga after 6 months to a year, magkakaroon na ng mga hair growths, okay, sa sensitive areas like sa mons pubis, sa vagina, and then sa kilikili, okay, or the underarm. And then after that, ang next naman dyan would be growth spurt. Okay? Yung iba, unfortunately, like Dr. Berlasa, hindi inabot ng growth spurt. So, hindi ako masyadong tumangkad. Okay? But it's constitutional. Siyempre, kung maliit naman ng mga magulang mo, you don't expect to be really tall. Okay? So, after the growth spurt, the last event of the secondary sexual characteristics will be your menstruation. We call that the first menses as menarche. So, these secondary sexual characteristics, class, if you have good connections, kindly open naman your videos kasi ang hirap makipag-usap sa picture. Ang hirap na mag-online, hindi ko pa kayo nakikita. Wait lang. you with me, class? Hello?
Yes
Class,
po.
okay. Kindly open naman your videos. Siguro naman you don't like me lecturing nang di naka-video, di ba? So, ganun din ako. I don't want to talk to people na puro picture lang nakikita. I also would want to see you ng personal, kung anong itsura nyo, di ba? But if mahina yung wifi, it's okay. Hindi kayo makapag-open ng video. But courtesy to your lecture, I would appreciate if I can see your faces. Kayo din naman siguro gusto nyo nakikita yung mukha ng kausap nyo, di ba? Okay, this is a lecture, this is a discussion, hindi naman to recording na, ano. Kasi kung gusto nyo ng recording, madali lang mag-record, tapos panuorin nyo na lang, di ba? So, kindly open your videos. So, anyway, so going back, this menarche is, or the secondary sexual characteristics starts at around 8 years old until are about 16 years old for the completion of the secondary sexual characteristics. Okay, we usually label abnormal uterine bleeding in an adolescent kapag more than 16 years old na siya. Okay, because we give time for this adolescent to really reach the fullest potential of the maturity of the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. Okay, so we don't usually investigate complaints of abnormal uterine bleeding, not unless in the form of heavy menstrual bleeding, meaning talagang profusely bleeding, or this adolescent is already pregnant. Okay, that's just the time na nag-investigate kami. Okay, but normally we usually assure the parents, tell them that until 16 years old, it's still acceptable to have menstrual irregularities because of the immaturity of the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. Okay? So pagdating ng 17 years old, then you already have to investigate kung bakit irregular yung kanilang menses. Because dapat normal, regular, monthly menses. Okay? Because it is a cycle. We undergo cyclic structural and functional changes. Okay, during the development of your secondary sexual characteristics. On the other end of the spectrum for menarche, we have your menopause. This is secondary to the diminishing gradual decrease of the ovarian function. Okay, so nagkakaroon ng decrease in estrogen and progesterone levels. So period where cyclic changes becomes irregular and eventually disappear at about 45 to 55 years old. For Filipino women, average 48 years old. Okay, we label or we define menopause as absence of menses for 1 year. Okay, pagka after a year at wala na talaga, then we call it menopause already. Okay, so menopause and menarche. Okay, next, of course, we're going to talk about the histology of the uterus, of the fallopian tubes, of the ovaries, and of the cervix as well as the vagina. Okay, so let's start off with the ovaries. So the ovaries is being covered on its surface by what we call the surface epithelium or germinal epithelium. This surface epithelium is being lined by a simple cuboidal epithelium. It is continuous with the mesothelium. So yung nag-envelope or yung surface covering ng ovaries is the same as that of with your uterus, with the fallopian tubes. Okay, so it overlies a dense connective tissue we call the tunica albuginea. Okay, so this tunica albuginea is the one connected to the ligaments of the ovaries or the uteroovarian ligaments. So it has two parts. You have your cortex and the medulla. Okay, we are going to focus more on the cortical area or on the cortex because it is where we are going to look at the different maturing or developing ovarian follicles in this area. So it is a highly cellular connective tissue. Okay, medulla contains a loose connective tissue and blood vessels and is the one connected to your ligaments or the uteroovarian ligaments as I have mentioned. So looking at this image, as you see here on the upper right hand, would be the histological picture in a sagittal section of the ovary. So pointed by my moving arrow will be the medulla. And as you can see, the medulla contains your blood vessels, and then it is invested into the mesovarium, as you can see here, or the ligaments of the ovary, which supports the ovary. Okay, but we are going to focus on the cortical area, as you can see here. It is at the level of the cortical area or the cortex where you'll be able to appreciate the different ovarian or developing ovarian follicles. So the cortical region and the medullary region do not have distinct border. Okay. Also, as evidence in this picture, you will be able to appreciate also that in the superficial area of the cortex, you will see small follicles because they are still immature. But as they go deeper into the medulla, mag-start siyang mag-develop into a full mature ovarian follicle, as you can see here. Okay, so from immature follicles to mature follicle. This mature follicle will be the one to release your mature egg, okay, that hopefully will be fertilized if there is sexual contact, okay, in the fallopian tube. Okay, so what happens? If you're going back to your lecture on gametogenesis, I have discussed gametogenesis and divided into spermatogenesis and oogenesis. For oogenesis, meaning for females, bata pa lang siya, in utero pa lang siya, okay, baby, as in embryo pa lang siya, nagsisimula na mag-develop or mag-start ang tinatawag natin na gametogenesis. Unlike for boys, wherein after puberty, doon magsisimulang mag-develop ang kanilang gonads. Okay, so during the early development, specifically during the first month in utero, the primordial germ cells will migrate from the yolk sac to the gonadal primordia. So it will undergo mitotic division, meaning increase in number of cells to form your oogonia. Then at around 11 to 12th week, there will already be the first meiotic division. In the first meiotic division, what happens is there will be apoptotic cell death and meiotic arrest. Okay, this meiotic arrest will lead to the production of your primary oocytes. Okay, these primary oocytes are actually surrounded by flat cells we call the follicular cells to eventually form a non-growing ovarian follicle. Okay, so yung primary oocytes ay nasa loob. Sorry, excuse me lang. Okay, sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, this primary oocyte is being surrounded by a follicular cells, flattened, to form a non-growing ovarian follicle. So ang topic natin or ang primary focus natin is we will be observing histologically under the microscope yung mga different developing follicles. Okay? Kasi yung oocyte, which is inside the growing follicle, will be only dalawa. Primary and secondary oocytes. Yung layers niya surrounding it, yun yung mag-differentiate because of the effects of your luteinizing hormone and your follicular stimulating hormone. Okay? So this follicular cells at birth is about 680,000. So from millions in utero, pagkapanganak, magiging 680,000 na lang sila. We call that the ovarian reserve. And once they reach puberty at about 8 to 9 years old, magiging 460,000 oocytes na lang sila. Okay, and about 30 to 35 years, from 460,000, magiging 450 oocytes na lang. So ganun ka markedly decreased ang kanilang chances of getting pregnant. Remember, class, that once na may regla ka na, you'll be able already to be fertilized kasi nag-ovulate ka na. So ibig sabihin, if there's sexual contact, then you can already really get pregnant. I have seen pregnant adolescents age 11 years old, 10 years old sa PGH. Okay, so nagkakaregla lang, nabuntis na agad, unfortunately. Okay, but once you reach about 30 to 35 years old, your chances of getting pregnant becomes lower, especially at around 35 years old, wherein there is another 30% decrease of the 450 oocytes that you already have. Okay? So kaya nga sinasabi nila na that women have their body clock, not because of the physical attributes na nagbabago yung itsura natin, nagre-wrinkles, but more of we have a body clock because our ovarian follicles starts to decrease as we age, and our chances of getting pregnant also decreases as we age. Like what I've said, on the other end of the spectrum would be the menopause. Okay, so from 450 oocytes to atresia, meaning wala na talaga because there is continuous apoptosis. Okay, and because wala na ring estrogen, which will be the one responsible for stimulation of your follicular cells. Okay, so ganun ang nangyayari, nagkakaroon ng atresia once you reach menopause, kaya hindi ka na rin syempre magbubuntis. Okay, so the oocyte, like what I've mentioned, this being surrounded by your follicular cells. Now, depending on what stage of the cycle, dun yung makikita ko anong itsura ng follicular cells. Okay, so it is being enveloped by either one or more layers of follicular cells within a basal lamina. The first follicle that you will see specifically at the superficial ovarian cortex will be what we call the primordial follicle, which is formed during fetal life. Diba nagkakaroon ng meiotic arrest. So this primordial follicle will be consisting of your primary oocytes. And like what I've mentioned, it occurs in the superficial ovarian cortex. Okay, so this primary oocyte inside this primordial follicle contains a spherical nucleus of about 25 micrometer. Okay, so you will be able to appreciate inside that large nucleus the first meiotic prophase. Siyempre, in a normal microscopic picture, hindi nyo siya makikita. Okay? I mean, kapag sisilip kayo sa normal na microscope. Okay, so you will be able to see that the organelles tend to be concentrated near the nucleus because, again, it is in its first meiotic prophase, and then also with numerous mitochondria as well as several Golgi complexes. Okay, so very distinct with this primordial follicle is it is lined by a single layer of flattened follicular cells, as you can see here. Okay, so when you are being asked of the primordial follicle, wag na kayong bumaba papunta sa medalla. Doon lang kayo sa taas. Tumingin lang kayo sa superficial ovarian cortex because it is where you are going to see the primordial follicles as evidenced by a flattened layer of cell, as you can see here. Okay. Okay, class. Ayan, flattened. And then this one, another flattened. Okay, pag nakita nyo yan, primordial follicle yan. Nasa primary oocyte pa din kayo. Okay? So now, once this child goes through puberty, there will be maturation of your hypothalamus. Okay? Releasing gonadotropic releasing hormone. This GnRH will stimulate the pituitary gland to release follicular stimulating hormone as well as luteinizing hormone. This follicular stimulating hormone is the one responsible to cause follicular growth. Okay, so this primordial follicle will have the growth of the oocyte to eventually cause the growth of follicular proliferation as well as stromal fibroblast differentiation. Okay, so now from a primordial follicle, it will become a unilaminar primary follicle because it is now being lined by a simple cuboidal epithelium. Okay, because of the continuous production of estrogen from unilaminar primary follicle, magiging multilaminar primary follicle. This time, stratified cuboidal epithelium na sila. So from flattened to simple cuboidal to stratified cuboidal epithelium. All of that are happening because of the effect of your follicular stimulating hormone. Also very evident in your multilaminar primary follicle is the presence of your zona pellucida. Okay, this zona pellucida is between the oocyte and the first layer of the granulosa cells. If you remember your gametogenesis, this zona pellucida is very important because it contains your sperm receptors ZP3 and ZP4, which is responsible to bind your sperm surface and induce acrosomal activation. Okay, remember, fertilization is defined as union of the sperm and the egg. Okay, so pagpasok ng kaisa-isang sperm out of the millions of sperm na pwedeng meron dun sa ejaculate, okay, so magkakaroon ngayon ng isa lang na sperm ang kailangan. So papasok siya sa egg, and then because of the zona pellucida containing the ZP3 and ZP4 sperm receptors, mapuputol yung head at saka yung tail. Okay, maghihiwalay sila because of that. Okay, also sa multilaminar primary follicle, we call that follicular cells granulosa cells already. Okay, so multilaminar primary follicle lined by a stratified cuboidal epithelium. Okay, and this time because of the effect of FSH, nagkakaroon ng formation of the granulosa cells containing an avascular basement membrane. Okay, so this picture will differentiate primordial follicle versus a unilaminar primary follicle. Okay, so flattened epithelial cells as compared to your simple cuboidal cells, as you can see here, and comparing a multilaminar primary follicle as well. As you can see here, this time you already have your granulosa cells with a vascular basement membrane, as you can see here, if you can see my moving arrow. And also the presence of your zona pellucida. Inside that will be the primary oocyte, as you can see here. Okay. So this granulosa cells will actually differentiate into theca interna and theca externa. Okay, so the stromal cells outside each growing follicle will differentiate to form your follicular theca, the theca interna and theca externa. The theca interna, microscopically, you'll be able to appreciate it as a well-vascularized structure with steroid-producing cells because it contains your androstenedione, which is an estrogen precursor. Okay, the theca externa, on the other hand, only contains fibroblasts and smooth muscles. Yun lang ang laman ng theca externa. So here, you'll be able to appreciate the granulosa cells separated by the basement membrane and the stromal layers to become your theca interna and theca externa. Okay, this letter A here is the antrum. Okay, antrum is actually a cavity because of the coalesced small cystic spaces or spaces with follicular fluid within. So pag nagdikit-dikit yan, magiging antrum siya. Isang malaking cavity. Okay, so again, this one is the granulosa cell. This is the basement membrane. This is the theca interna, which is characterized histologically by a cytoplasmic lipid-producing cells, droplet-producing cells, as you can see here. So hindi kayo magkakamali sa theca interna with theca externa. Okay, because of this one. Again, because it contains your androstenedione. Okay, here you will be able to see that the theca externa only contains fibroblasts and smooth muscles. And this one will be the stroma. Okay, what would be the importance again of your theca interna? It actually contains your androstenedione. Okay, this cholesterol will be converted into androstenedione Okay, this androstenedione will go to the basement membrane and then into the granulosa cell to be converted eventually to estradiol. Okay, to eventually become your estrogen. Okay, so again, all of this is because of your FSH and your luteinizing hormone. Okay, kaya nga, di ba girls, if you can observe, kapag medyo nag-gain tayo ng weight o kaya naman yung mga polycystic ovarian syndrome patients natin na medyo obese, ang number one management would be to lose weight to be able to regularize your menses. And para mabuntis ka din, di ba? Yun ang unang-una lifestyle management in the form of weight loss. Okay? Because your peripheral fats will also produce cholesterol. So meron kang extra conversion of cholesterol outside the ovaries, causing in such a way hormonal imbalance. Kaya dapat magpapayat. Okay, because of that. Para kahit kasi maggamot tayo ng maggamot, mag-pills ka ng mag-pills to regulate your hormones, kung hindi ka naman nagpapapayat, mahihirapan tayong i-manage yung irregular menses because you have, again, extra conversion of estrogen into the peripheral fats. Okay? So going back, this antral follicles, this one is an antrum already, meaning nag-coalesce na yung mga small spaces appearing between granulosa layers as the follicle develops into a mature follicle. Okay, inside that antrum will be the follicular fluid, or also what we call the liquor folliculi. Okay, this liquor folliculi contains different hormones, different products like your hyaluronic acid, growth factors, plasminogen, fibrinogen, and also high concentration of steroids like your progesterone, androstenedione, and estrogen. Okay, so this is made in such a way to be able to continue the maturation of this follicle. Kailangan din niya yan. Kung wala man siyang makuha sa labas, then within that follicle, meron siyang source of progesterone, androstenedione, and estrogen. Okay? Now, as this follicle develops, it becomes your what we call the mature follicle or dominant follicle or Graafian follicle. How are you going to differentiate it from the other follicles that we have talked about? Okay, the Graafian follicle or the mature ovarian follicle contains your cumulus ooporus, which is actually granulosa cells around the oocyte forming a hillock. Also, another characteristic is the presence of corona radiata, which are tightly adhering granulosa cells that immediately surrounds the zona pellucida. So this corona radiata accompanies the oocyte when it leaves the ovary during ovulation. Okay, so this is what we call now the pre-ovulatory follicle. This is very important, especially for patients who would want to conceive. Okay, kasi kailangan nila yan. Yan po yung ipipick up ng fimbria ng fallopian tube at yan yung tatambay sa fallopian tube, specifically sa ampullary part, to be eventually fertilized by the sperm. Okay, so it contains a single large antrum. Average size is about 2 centimeters. Also, when you look at it laparoscopically, you will be able to appreciate it as a bulging on the ovarian surface. Okay, so that is your Graafian or mature follicles. Histologically, it is characterized with, again, corona radiata, as you can see here, and your cumulus ooporus, which is here. Okay, and then within that will be your primary oocyte, and surrounding this will be your antral follicle with antrum or cavity with follicular fluid within. Okay, another higher magnification of your Graafian or mature follicle. So what would be the clinical significance for our patients who would usually want to conceive or those who have infertility problems? We define infertility as 1 year of not conceiving for a patient or for a couple who has regular sexual contact without any methods of contraception. Okay, so if your husband and you are living together, wala namang contraception, and you're having regular sexual contact at hindi ka pa rin nagbubuntis, then we can label it already after a year as infertility. Okay, so what we usually do is request for an ultrasound, specifically transvaginal ultrasound. So this is a picture of a transvaginal ultrasound. Like what I've said, when you want to look at the growing follicles, you would want to look at the superficial ovarian cortex. So peripheral ang tingin mo. Okay, so in this picture, you'll be able to appreciate different follicles as you can see here. This one, if you can see my moving arrow, is the medullary area. Okay, so ito ang polycystic ovaries. When you say polycystic ovaries by ultrasound, meaning marami siyang follicles, pero immature siya. What we want is actually a mature follicle. Okay, kasi yan yung ma-fertilized eventually. This mature follicle, ang average size niya is 2 centimeters. So for our patients na nag-infertility workup, kunyari binigyan namin ng, kunyari anovulation, irregular menses, walang regla, okay, binibigyan namin sila ng ovulating inducing drugs like your clomiphene citrate. Okay, and then after that, 5 days yon, day 1 to day 5 of her menses, or day 3 to day 7 of her menses, and then day 10 to 12 of her cycle, we will be requesting for ultrasound because we expect that by day 10 to 12 of the cycle, dapat meron na siyang dominant follicle. Okay? So it's really very tasking for patients na infertile, okay, na nag-work up kasi talagang dating of the cycle is very important for us. So if may nakita kaming mature follicle like what you can see here, an average size of 2 centimeters, okay, we usually advise them to do regular sexual contact because after 36 hours, this mature follicle will rupture. Okay, siya yung mag-produce ng fertilized na, ng egg na i-fertilize eventually. Okay, kaya yun yung inaabangan namin. Okay, kasi kapag nalagpasan mo yung day 10 to 12 of the cycle na yan, puputok na yan. Hindi mo na makakatch. Okay, ganyan din yung ginagawa for patients who would want IVF. Okay, kinakatch din nila yung pagputok nung dominant follicle. Okay, minsan, we aid that by giving HCG injection. Okay, para mas stimulate yung pag-rupture of this dominant follicle. Okay, like what I've said also kanina, pag tiningnan nyo siya under laparoscopy or even exploratory laparotomy, pero but this time mas ma-appreciate nyo siya under lap. Okay, so kung makikita nyo, bulging ovarian surface, makikita nyo si dominant follicle na nag-start na siyang lumabas. Okay? After 36 hours, puputok na to. Itong buong to. Magre-resorb. Okay? Pero ang gusto mo lang actually dyan is this one. Yan yung pupunta sa fallopian tube. So kung mapapansin nyo, unti-unti siyang lumalabas. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yan yung ipipick up ng fimbria. For example, this is the egg, this is the fallopian tubes, ito yung fimbria, ipipick up niya yan ng fimbria. Okay, tapos tatambay na yan sa ampullary part kasi yun yung widest. Tapos mag-aantay na siya ng sperm to be fertilized. Okay? Now, like what I've said, continuous ang apoptosis. So, some cells or follicular cells na hindi naging mature or dominant follicle, kasi isa lang naman yun, mag-go through siya ng follicular atresia or degenerative process wherein the oocytes will undergo phagocytosis as well as apoptosis. Histologically, you'll be able to appreciate apoptosis as evidenced by detachment of the granulosa cells, autolysis of the oocyte, and the collapse of zona pellucida, as you can see in this picture. Okay? So, another one is we also have what we call the corpus luteum. Because of the effect of the luteinizing hormone, kaya na puro pinag-usapan natin is follicular stimulating hormone. This time, because of the effect of your luteinizing hormone, the ovulated follicle will reorganize to form your corpus luteum also. Okay, so this is a temporary endocrine gland. Kaya natin siya sinabing temporary endocrine gland because for a pregnant patient, this corpus luteum will serve as a basis of support because this corpus luteum produces progesterone. Kaya siya tinawag na progesterone, pro-gest. Gest is gestation, to support the pregnancy. Yun ang function ng corpus luteum. Okay? Habang wala pang placenta, until such time at about 6 to 7 weeks, mag-start nang mag-develop yung placenta. That's the time na mag-i-involute yung corpus luteum. Okay, so for us, when we do ultrasound in a pregnant patient at her early stage of or early age of gestation, we would be worried if hindi namin makikita yung corpus luteum because this pregnancy might fail. Kasi saan siya kukuha ng support? Diba? Wala pa siyang placenta at an early stage. Okay, so this corpus luteum is contains your granulosa lutein cells as well as your theca lutein cells. This granulosa lutein cells has an aromatase conversion of androstenedione into estradiol. Also, the theca lutein cells will produce progesterone and androstenedione. Okay? So when you look at the corpus luteum under the microscope, ganito yung itsura niya. Okay? It contains your theca lutein cells and your granulosa lutein cells. Okay? So your granulosa lutein cells are larger, pale staining. Major hormone being produced is progesterone. Your theca lutein cells is smaller and darker in staining, which produces progesterone and androstenedione. Okay, so yun yung mga hormones. So pareho silang nagpo-produce ng progesterone but primarily by the granulosa lutein cells. Okay? Now, if there is no pregnancy and because of the absence of stimulation, pag walang pregnancy, this corpus luteum will involute to become your corpus albicans, okay, which contains mostly collagen and few fibroblasts. So para siyang scar of connective tissue. Okay. So this picture will just show you the different developing follicles, okay, and the effect of hormones as well as effect of ovulation and no fertilization. So from a primordial germ cells lined by a flattened epithelial cells, because of the effect of your follicular stimulating hormone, there will be growth of the follicular cells to become your unilaminar primary follicles, as you can see here, to multilaminar primary follicle, okay, to eventually a mature follicle containing now your secondary oocytes, to eventually ovulation. So when you say ovulation, lalabas na yung mature egg. Okay, if there is pregnancy, it will eventually become your corpus luteum to become a temporary endocrine gland. Tapos kapag walang pregnancy, magiging corpus albicans. Okay. Mami, sinaklas. Want to say hi? Want to say hi? Want to say hi? Let's go to the big bed daw, sabi ng anak ko. Okay, stupid uncle. Say hi. Okay, we go na muna with Ates. Okay, so this one, I think, especially the girls, heard this already. Yes, we lock the door. This one is very common. So madalas maririnig nyo yung word na PCOS. Okay? Or what we call the polycystic ovarian syndrome. This polycystic ovarian syndrome is characterized by an ovulation. Okay, so usually patients will complain of abnormal uterine bleeding in the form of amenorrhea or no menses, or minsan irregular, like every 2 months, every 3 months. Okay, some will also complain of signs of hyperandrogenism. Okay, either biochemical or clinical signs of hyperandrogenism. Clinical signs will include acne, okay, and hirsutism. Okay, so some dermatologists would refer patients na kahit anong treat nila sa acne hindi gumagaling, yung pala, meron silang polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a sign of hyperandrogenism. Okay, and also and lastly will be the ultrasound findings of a polycystic ovaries. So when you say syndrome, ibig sabihin sama-samang signs and symptoms na meron ka ng isang disease entity. Okay, so for this one, you have 3 criteria, 2 out of 3. Dapat meron to label it as a polycystic ovarian syndrome. So minsan, yung ibang patient, makikita mo lang by ultrasound na polycystic pero regular naman yung menses, walang problems with clinical signs of hyperandrogenism. Hindi siya PCOS. Okay? Because again, PCOS is a syndrome. Okay? So ang problem with polycystic ovarian syndrome is that it is the most common cause of infertility. Okay, so you have to manage it to be able to conceive. So, pero hindi naman ibig sabihin na because ka, hindi ka na magbubuntis. Because I, for one, polycystic ako. Meron naman ako isang anak. Hirap na nga lang akong pumangalawa. Okay, because true enough, ang polycystic talagang kailangan ng tulong ng doktor para magbuntis. Medyo mahirap. Though may mga nag-spontaneous naman. Okay? So, as you can see here, another transvaginal ultrasound picture of a multiple immature follicles, as you can see here. Madami siyang itlog, yes, pero hindi siya nagmamature, maliliit lang siya. Okay, another problem with ovaries will be presence of ovarian new growth, primarily secondary to genetic or genes. Okay, may genetic mutation somewhere na nag-cause ng ovarian new growth. Okay, so this ovarian new growth can be benign or malignant. Okay, ang problem mo with growing ovaries is actually torsion. Because if you remember your gross anatomy, di ba meron tayong tinatawag na utero-ovarian ligament. Okay, ngayon, this can only accommodate a 5 by 5 centimeter ovary. So if there is an ovarian new growth like this one is a patient of mine during the first year of pandemic complaining of severe abdominal pain and a pelvo-abdominal mass. Remember that the ovary is a posterior organ, meaning nasa likod siya ng uterus. So yan, pag lumaki at naging abdominal organ, ibig sabihin sobrang laki na niya kasi na-occupy na niya yung posterior area ng uterus mo, which is actually deep. Okay? So like this one, this is about 26 by 20 centimeter right ovary. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a malignant ovarian cancer. Okay? So what we did was to oophorectomy or removal of the entire ovary kasi naman isa-salvage yan. And also removing the rest of the female reproductive organs because this patient is already 58 years old kung di ako nagkakamali. So hindi niya na kailangan yung reproductive career niya is tapos na. So, fortunately, wala kaming dilemma on whether to remove or not to remove because this patient is already 58, completed reproductive career. Hindi niya na rin niya kailangan kasi menopause na siya. So, yan. Tinanggal na lang namin siya. But, yun nga, it turned out histopathologically as a malignant cancer of the ovary. Okay? Are we still good, class? Okay pa tayo? Carry pa?
Yes,
Carry boom boom pa mga boys and girls? Okay. Now let's proceed with the uterus. Like what I've said, the uterus is its only function is to carry the baby to term. Okay, pag term na din, pwede na siyang ilabas. Okay, so it's divided into fundus, corpus or body, isthmus, and cervix. Alam nyo to, alam ko. Kapag nag-female lecture na kayo. Okay, so if you can see here, you have the uterus here. This one is the fundus. This is the body. Okay, this is the isthmus. Okay, yung parang balakang. And this is the cervix and the vagina. Okay, attached to the lateral side will be the fallopian tubes. Ito yung utero-ovarian ligament. This one, as you can see here, that supports the the ovary. Okay? Yan yung pumupulupot pag sobrang malaki, causing torsion. Okay, so the uterus is being lined superficially by your perimetrium. So it is the outer connective tissue layer which is continuous with the ligaments. Okay, remember that the uterus is like a spider in a cobweb. It is being supported by the ligaments. So the perimetrium of the uterus is actually continuous with the ligaments. Okay, largely serosa covered by the mesothelium. So if you imagine my hand, this one will be the posterior portion. This one will be the anterior portion. Okay, the posterior portion of the uterus is entirely covered by the perimetrium. So pag ganun siya, tapos gaganon siya, didikit siya sa rectal area, sa may small intestine, large intestine. Okay? Ngayon, yung anterior layer niya, dito lang, half lang. Okay, because anterior to the uterus will be the bladder. So the serosa will go here and then go over the bladder. So this is the anterior portion, kunwari, of the uterus. Andito yung bladder. Okay, so yung serosa mo will cover and go over the bladder. Okay, yung gitna niyan will be the vesicouterine fold. It's very important for us to bring that bladder down by incising the vesicouterine fold when we want to do cesarean sections or do hysterectomies, because we don't want the bladder to go with the uterus or with the specimen, diba? So we usually look for the vesicouterine fold. It is where the serosa will go over the bladder, try to deflect it, and then bring down the bladder. Okay, dito kami humihiwa sa may isthmic area. Okay, sa level ng isthmic area. Why are we incising in the lower uterine segment? The isthmus becomes the lower uterine segments when you are pregnant. Okay, we usually incise there at that area because it is the thinnest, most avascular part of the uterus in a pregnant patient. Kasi nagdadilate yung cervix eh. Makapal pa rin yung nasa taas, pero yung baba, nagdadilate siya to be able to accommodate the delivery of the fetus. So doon kami naghihiwa because it becomes avascular as it thins out. Okay, so that will be your perimetrium. Another layer, which is the thickest and highly vascularized, will be the myometrium. Okay, it contains bundles of smooth muscles in an organized fashion, inner circular and outer longitudinal layer. Okay, so what would be the importance of this organization of this myometrium? To be yung inner circular and outer longitudinal. So remember that during pregnancy, there is a period of extensive growth and hyperplasia and hypertrophy and increase in collagen production of the uterus. These are all necessary to accommodate the growing fetus. However, also, the blood vessels from the uterus will supply the placenta. Okay, so for example, this is the uterus. Okay, so all the blood vessels comes from different directions. It is made in such way because God wants the placenta to have and the fetus to have a good vascular supply. Hindi pwedeng dito lang sa area ng side na to ng uterus makikita ang blood vessels because, 'di ba? Konting supply lang yan. So, dapat coming from all the directions of the uterus. Para kahit may myoma dito, mabubuhay pa rin yung baby kasi meron pa siyang blood supplies on different areas. So, the placenta, for example, this is the placenta will stick dito. Normally, sa pundal area. Okay, so yung blood vessel will invest into the placenta. Okay? Pag nag-detach ang placenta after delivery of the fetus, bukas yung blood vessels mo. Okay, so the myometrium is made in such a way that it can constrict the blood vessels. Kaya siya inner circular and outer longitudinally arranged. Kasi kailangan niyang mabaso-constrict effectively those blood vessels. Kasi kung hindi, para kang nagbukas ng gripo, ganun kadaming dugo. Because remember that your uterine artery is coming from your internal iliac artery, coming from your common artery and coming from your abdominal aorta, which is a major blood vessel. So, ganun kalakas, as in literal, para kang nagbukas ng gripo. So, it has to contract properly. And by contraction of this myometrium, you'll be able to vasoconstrict the blood vessels where the placenta came from. Okay, to prevent postpartum hemorrhage and prevent death eventually of the mother. Okay, so going back, this one is the perimetrium. Okay, and this one will be the myometrium. Okay, next we have the endometrium. So the endometrium is the one responsible for yung pag-slap off during menstrual cycle. Okay, it is being lined by your simple columnar epithelium containing ciliated cells and secretory cells lining the uterine glands. It also has lamina propria, which contains type 3 collagen and fibroblasts. Okay, this endometrium is divided into two layers, the basalis and the functional layer. The basal layer is directly attached to the myometrium, containing the deep basal ends of the uterine glands. Okay, the functional layer is the spongier with the spongior lamina propria, is actually the one being sloughed off during menstrual cycle. Okay? So, yun yung nag-slough off kapag ka nagre-regla tayo. So, what you see na lumalabas sa inyo girls are actually your functional layer. Okay? Because the spiral arteries supplying this functional layer is progesterone sensitive. Kaya yun yung usually nag-slough off. The basal layer is important during implantation of the blastocyst. Okay? Kasi yan yung magdi-differentiate at mag-establish ng vascular flow pagka nagbuntis yung nanay at nag-implant yung uterus, yung fetus. Okay? So again, this will be the endometrium as evidenced by abundance of uterine glands, as you can see here. And then this one will be the myometrium as evidenced by presence of smooth muscles. Okay, so madi-differentiate nyo sila. Okay, so again, the basal layer of the endometrium, which borders the myometrium containing the basal ends of the uterine glands and with small arteries, as you can see here. Okay, the functional layer contains most of the endometrial glands. Okay, kaya sila yung nag-slap off. And the lining epithelium, which is covered by your simple columnar epithelium with ciliated cells. Okay? So like what I've said, the spiral arteries is progesterone sensitive. So remember your blood supply to the uterus. So from the aorta to common iliac to common and then internal iliac and external iliac. The internal iliac will give rise to become your uterine artery and then it will insert into the isthmic area of the uterus to go laterally upwards to supply the fallopian tubes, anastomose with your ovarian artery to supply both the ovaries and the fallopian tubes also. So dual ang blood supply ng ating uterus. Okay? Kahit na mag-ligate ka ng internal iliac artery, hindi mamamatay si uterus because you still have the ovarian artery, which is a direct branch of the aorta. Anyway, going back. So this uterine artery will eventually become your arcuate artery as it goes inside the uterus to become your radial artery, to become your straight artery to supply the basal layer, and spiral artery to supply the functional layer, which is again a progesterone sensitive layer. So as you can see here. Okay, so from uterine artery going inside the myometrium to become your arcuate artery, and then radial branch will become your straight artery and spiral artery. Okay, so this picture will just show you the different complex levels of ovarian menstrual cycle, or the different organs as well as its hormones involved in the ovarian menstrual cycle. So your hypothalamus will release gonadotropin releasing hormone to influence your pituitary gland to release your follicle stimulating hormone and your LH, to influence your ovary to release estrogen or produce estrogen and progesterone because of aftergrowth of follicular cells, presence of corpus luteum. Okay, your uterus will not have any hormones. It will just respond to the hormones being produced by the ovaries. So why am I showing you this? Because I want you to understand that any aberrant or any problems occurring in any levels, like for example, a mass in the hypothalamus, or a mass or a pituitary adenoma, or a problem in the ovaries can all lead to irregular menses. Okay? So kapag ang pasyente dumating sa inyo, menstrual irregularities, huwag yung sisihin agad si ovaries. Okay? Kasi baka naman mamaya nasa higher level. We usually label this as level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So when we investigate, we look into the different levels kung nasaan yung problem. Okay? Kasi connected yan, interconnected sila. Okay, so this busy picture will just let you appreciate the hormones in the level 1 and 2, affecting the hormones in the level 3, which is the ovary, and the response of these hormones of the endometrium to the hormones, which is the level 4 already, as you can see here. Okay, so all of these are important for us when we want this patient to conceive. Okay, kasi kung wala kang magandang hormones sa level 1 and 2 mo, walang point. Patay din tong level 3 and 4 mo. Okay, may maganda kang follicle, straight naman tong endometrium mo or flat naman or hindi naman magandang area to be implanted with ng embryo, di wala ring point na magbuntis ang patient. So when we work up the patient, we look into the 4 levels. Okay, so that we know na magiging successful. Okay? So what happens to the endometrium specifically? Of course, during menstrual cycle, nag-shed off siya. That will be day 1 of the bleeding. Yun yung day 1 ng cycle. So we usually count or date the cycle. Start nun will be unang patak ng dugo. Okay? Ng isang babae. Yun ang kanyang unang araw, day 1 of the cycle. Okay? Usually 28 days ang cycle ng mga babae. Okay? So after day 1, may bleeding yan. Usually 3 to 4 days. Normal is 4 to 7 days class, amounting to about 80 ml with a 21 to 35 days interval. That's how you define a regular menstrual cycle. Again, with an interval of 21 to 35 days, ideally 28, okay, lasting for at least 4 to 7 days, amounting to about 80 ml per day. How will you know if it's 80 ml? Sa isang pad, it's usually 20 ml. So consuming about 3 to 4 pads per day. Yun yung normal. With outside that or before that, like for example, a 10-day cycle, nagkaroon ka uli, after 2 weeks, nagkaroon ka uli, abnormal yon. Or after 2 months, dun ka dinatnan, abnormal yon. What you always rule out for a patient in a reproductive age group with bleeding problems or abnormal uterine bleeding will be pregnancy. Always. Even if this patient is madre, usually we request for pregnancy test pa din, just to rule out pregnancy. Not because we are judging her, but just to rule out. Kasi nga, number 1 diagnostics mo yun kapag ka in a reproductive age woman with abnormal uterine bleeding. Okay? So going back, so after ng menstrual, ng day 1 of bleeding, mag-start na uling nag-shed off na siya, so manipis na. And then mag-start na uli siyang tumubo because of the estrogen. So estrogen is responsible for the endometrial growth. Usually 8 to 10 days yan. And then after that, pupunta na siya sa secretory phase, beginning at ovulation. So kapag nag-ovulate ka, may itlog, may magandang bed. Pag walang pregnancy, yung itlog na yon mag-atri siya, and then yung bed na yon magpa-flat uli. Okay, organized slopping off because of progesterone. So, ninipis uli siya, magre-regla ka uli. So, remember, every month dapat nagre-regla tayong mga girls. Okay, so secretory phase usually lasts about 14 days. So, 14 plus 10 is 24 plus 4, that's 28 days cycle. Okay? Pero normal pa rin yung between 21 to 35 days. Hindi naman yan fixed. Hindi porke October 8 ka nagkaroon, dapat November 8 magkakaroon ka. Hindi rin naman yun. Okay? Basta as long as it is within the 21 to 35 days interval. Okay? So after the menstrual cycle, after the shedding of, like what I've said, proliferative phase, there will be growth of your endometrium. So when you look at the endometrium histologically, there will be a simple columnar lining epithelium, straight tubular glands, and empty lumens, as well as a lengthened spiral artery. Yun ang characteristic ng endometrium. Vis-a-vis with your ovary, the ovary will have this, what we call, dominant follicle. Kasi nga, importante ito. Both are important for a possible pregnancy. Okay, so we call the proliferative phase estrogenic phase because it is the estrogen responsible for your endometrial growth and also follicular growth of the ovaries until such time na dominant follicle na siya. Now, with secretory phase, which happens after ovulation, there will be peak already of luteinizing hormone. So, tapos na si FSH. So, luteinizing hormone naman ang bida-bida. Okay? So, there will be development of your corpus luteum. So, when you look at the endometrium, the epithelial cells of your endometrium will secrete glycogen, meaning vacuolated yung mga cells nila. There will be also gland coiling, okay, during this time. Kasi ito na yung time na magre-regla na uli siya. Okay, kaya tinawag na secretory phase. Magre-regla, hindi pa nagre-regla. Okay, magre-regla pa lang. Okay, so as you can see, another histologic feature that you can see would be a blood-filled glands. Kasi nasa labas na siya, mag-extrude na yung blood. Okay, until such time na pumunta siya sa menstrual phase. Ito na yung shedding of the part of mucosa, which is 14 days after ovulation. So the corpus luteum will regress, okay? So because of the decrease in estrogen and progesterone, magkakaroon na ng shedding of the part of the mucosa. Okay, so histologically, this will be your proliferative phase, your secretory phase, and your premenstrual phase. So when you look at it, sa proliferative phase, like what I've mentioned, you will see that the stroma is more cellular because proliferate, makapal siya. And the glands are relatively straight because there is stretching of this thickened layer, okay, and narrow as well as empty. Kasi paregla pa lang naman siya, proliferative pa lang naman. Now, when she reaches secretory phase, that's the time na makikita nyo na yung blood sa loob kasi paregla na siya, meaning pa-shed off na. Okay, so the tubular glands will have wider lumens containing secretory products and they will coil up through the stroma. Okay? Until such time na pupunta na siya sa premenstrual phase. The premenstrual phase will have constriction of the spiral arteries which produces hypoxia that causes swelling and dissolution of the glands. Okay? Kaya siya nag-slough off kasi nawawalan siya ng blood supply. Para siyang nagne-necrosis. So again, the normal cycle will actually be day 28 as you can see here. From early to late, proliferative to secretory, and then menstrual phase. Pero again, normal pa rin ang 21 to 35 days interval. Okay? Are we still good, class? Okay pa? Okay. Now, we proceed with the clinical correlation. Okay, clinically, we have what we call endometriosis. Ano yung pathognomonic symptom ng isang pasyente may endometriosis? That will be your cyclic pelvic pain or dysmenorrhea. Okay, so may mga patients tayo na talagang debilitating ang kanilang dysmenorrhea. Kailangan nilang ihiga, inuman ng gamot, nagtatae, nagdadiarrhea, yung iba talagang severe pain na nakahiga lang sila the whole day. Okay? Most common cause will be endometriosis. Endometriosis is growth of an ectopic endometrial glands. So meron siyang endometrial glands sa ibang areas like the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, even sa umbilical cords and sa lungs. pwede siyang magkaroon ng ectopic endometrial glands. Okay? So normally or most common will be sa muscles ng uterus. Okay, doon siya napupunta. Kaya kapag ka nagbabasoconstrict, nag-hypoxia, these endometrial glands, nagko-contract yung uterus. Masakit kasi nga nasa muscle siya and we know that in the muscles, masakit yun pag nag-contract, diba? Kaya siya sobrang nagpe-pain. Yung iba naman, like for example, in the lungs, pag may ectopic endometrial gland sila sa lungs, hindi sila makahinga. Okay, may shortness of breath sila because of that. Yung iba naman sa umbilical cord, may nangingitim na area sa umbilical cord na nagbabulge every time na dadatnan sila. So those are endometriosis or presence of ectopic endometrial glands other than the endometrium. Okay, so ovaries, as you can see here, nagkakaroon ng tinatawag natin na chocolate cyst. Kasi when you look at it, para siyang nilusaw na dark chocolate ang itsura. Kasi nga, blood siya actually na hindi na bright red. Kumbaga dahil matagal na nag-accumulate na. Problem with this is pwede siyang mag-torsion kasi lumalaki yung ovary because napifill up siya ng blood. Okay, so magpe-pain siya. Another problem would be this is also a cause of infertility. Why? Because these ectopic endometrial glands acts like a cancer. Hindi siya cancer na malignant transformation, but the invasiveness of these ectopic endometrial glands will cause destruction of the neighboring structures. Okay, so ini-invade niya yung tissue, for example, the fallopian tube. Invade niya yung fallopian tube, sisirain niya yung cilia, pwede kang mag-ectopic pregnancy or mag-infertility, hindi magbuntis at all. Okay, so another one, we have this endometritis. Okay, endometritis by the word, the word itis meaning inflammation, secondary to infection, is secondary to frequent infection sa vagina. So girls, huwag niyong i-disregard yung foul-smelling vaginal discharge or yung may staining kayo na yellowish underwear. Do not disregard that or vaginal itchiness because it could be an infection that will eventually ascend and infect your other female reproductive organs like your fallopian tube or salpingitis, your endometrium or endometritis, or pwede rin sa ovary or tubo-ovarian abscess. Okay, so wag niyong i-disregard yan. Magagamot, okay, pag may ganyan. Kasi pwede kayong mag-infertility. Okay, so we're done with the uterus. We now proceed with the fallopian tubes. So it is composed and very histologic picture ng isang fallopian tube is a highly folded mucosa. Okay, it also contains your mascularis layer arranged in a interwoven circular and longitudinal layers like your uterus, your myometrium specifically, and also covered by your team serosa. Okay, the mucosa, like what I've said, is highly folded, lined by a simple columnar epithelium with non-ciliated circulatory peg cells, which is very important because it secretes glycoprotein, which is nutritive in function. Nutritive siya kasi kailangan niyang isupply ng nutrients yung mature egg habang nag-aantay ng sperm. Okay? Para dun kukuha ng source of nutrition yung inyong mature egg. Kasi usually, ang mas matagal lang buhay ng ovary compared sa sperm. Okay? So, yung ovary, usually, yung follicle na yan, usually after 3 days. Ang sperm, 24 to 36 hours deads na sila. Okay? So, it also contains ciliated cells, which will sweep the fluid towards the uterus to aid in the implantation within the uterus. Without implantation within the uterus, we call that ectopic pregnancy. Okay? It also has lamina propria, which contains loose connective tissue, and richly cellular, containing your lymphocytes, your monocytes, mast cells, and your reticular fibers. Okay, mascularis layer, like what I've mentioned, and also your serosa. Okay, you will never go wrong in identifying organs under the microscope, especially fallopian tube, when you see this, which is a highly folded mucosa into the lumen. Iba yung branching sa folding. Okay, branching is palabas, paganyan. Ang folding is nakaganon. Okay, so this one is highly folded into the mucosa. Okay, as you can see, you have here your interwoven circular and longitudinal layers of smooth muscles in the muscularis layer. Okay, and in here on the picture sa right will be your lining epithelium, simple columnar epithelium with ciliated cells. Okay, so looking at it on a higher magnification, you'll be able to appreciate the ciliated cells, which is again responsible for the movement of your cilia into the uterine cavity, and your secretory peg cells, which is non-ciliated with darker in staining, which secretes glycoprotein for nutritive function in the epithelium. Okay? So I have discussed this already. So in this inset picture, you'll be able to appreciate a highly folded mucosa, but with presence of abundance of neutrophilic infiltrate, secondary again to infection. Okay, again, this will lead to infertility or ectopic pregnancy. Okay, so this one is ectopic pregnancy, triad of abdominal pain, amenorrhea, and spotting in a reproductive age woman is almost always a possible ectopic pregnancy. Okay, so here again, you appreciate the microscopic picture. You appreciate the highly folded mucosa of the fallopian tube with chorionic, invasion of the chorionic villi. This chorionic villi, wala dapat yan. Dapat yan nasa uterus kapag nag-implant yung blastocyst. Pero since andun yung fertilized egg, hindi siya napunta sa uterus, ectopic pregnancy yun. So dun makikita yung chorionic villi. Okay, so this one is not my picture, unlike yung kanina. Hindi, ito nakita ko lang sa Google. Okay. So lastly, or second to the last, we have cervix. Okay, so sa cervix, it also contains your simple columnar epithelium, but histologic feature of the cervix will be the plicae palmitae, which are branching folds in the mucosa. So it's not folded into the mucosa, but branching folds in the mucosa. It also has lamina propria, which contains your mucus-secreting cervical glands. Okay, so para ma-differentiate nyo ang endocervix to exocervix, number 1 is the lining epithelium, and number 2, presence of your cervical glands, as you can see here. Okay. Please pay particular attention to the junction between the columnar epithelium and the stratified columnar epithelium, epithelium. We call that the squamocolumnar junction or your transformation zone. Okay, so from a columnar epithelium to a stratified squamous epithelium, which lines your vagina also. So kaya siya tinawag na portio vaginalis also, because portion of the vaginal area. Kasi pareho sila ng lining epithelium. Okay, so in this picture, you'll be able to appreciate here the squamocolumnar junction. What will be the clinical significance of this squamocolumnar junction or transformation zone? Okay, this one is actually the area that is exposed to the vaginal environment. And in that vaginal environment, we know that there are normal bacteria thriving in. Pag nag-immunocompromise ka, magkaroon ka ng infection, haywire ang vaginal bacteria, normal flora mo. Okay, so mag-i-infect ka, and then eventually, because of the infection, magkakaroon ng reepithelialization sa area na yon, because infection will stimulate epithelial cell reprogramming. Depends yun ng katawan eh. And because of that frequent reepithelialization, secondary to infection or trauma, infection mostly or specifically HPV, pwede kang magkaroon ng cervical cancer. So it is in the squamocolumnar junction where we get samples if we want to screen for cervical cancer, or what we call the Papa Nicolau smear or Pap smear. Okay, pap smear is recommended for patients 21 years old and above with sexual contact. Okay, again, recommended for 21 years old and above with sexual contact. If without, you don't need to do pap smear. Okay, so we usually get sample dun sa squamocolumnar junction. Makikita mo naman siya, ma-appreciate mo siya pag tinignan mo yung cervix. Okay, so here, ang kagandahan, pero hindi naman talaga actually maganda ang cervical cancer. Sa cervical cancer, unlike your ovarian, madali mong ma-screen ang cervical eh. Kasi sa cervical, pag nagpa-pap smear ka regularly, makikita mo na meron siyang pre-malignant, meaning from CIN1 or cervical intraepithelial neoplasia to a full-blown CIN3, which increases the risk of this patient developing cervical cancers. Okay, so ito, mga around 80% chances of developing into cervical malignancy na. So kung makatch mo siya dito, mapre-prevent mo ang cervical cancer at early stage. Okay, pre-malignant pa lang, bago maging malignant. Okay, yun ang kagandahan. Kaya nga, like what I've said, it's very important that you advise your patients to do annual pap smear or every 2 years if you use a liquid-based type of Papa Nicolau smear. Okay, last structure or organ, we have the vagina, which is lined by your stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. It also has elastic fibers, lymphocytes, and neutrophils in its lamina propria, okay, and also has muscularis layer and adventitia. The adventitial layer contains a dense connective tissue with plenty of elastic fibers. Okay, kailangan niyang elastic fibers na yan because to be able to accommodate, of course, two heads, the head of a baby and the head of the daddy. Yung head ni baby, parang hindi naman joke yun technically. Okay, so para mag-expand siya, especially during delivery of the fetus. Kasi imagine mo a 5 kilo baby passing through that vaginal canal. Okay, so again, this one is the microscopic picture of the mucosa, stratified squamous non-keratinized, the lamina propria, and the muscularis layer. Remember that the vagina is also a muscular organ. Okay? And you know why and how it functions. Okay? Again, another picture, microscopic picture of the vagina. Okay? So, this vagina is being influenced primarily by the estrogen, by your estrogen. So, for patients who are already menopause, okay, ang number one complaint nila will be dyspareunia or pain during sexual intercourse kasi wala nang effect yung estrogen to, stimulate production of your mucus glands producing mucus in the vagina. So, painful intercourse. And then another one, what we call the atrophic vaginitis, okay, or infection of the vagina secondary to atrophy. Again, because dry na siya. Nagkakaskas yung kanyang labia. Yung iba naghalos magdikit na sila eh. Okay, yung iba dadating sa amin, na sila, dysuria na ang complaint at saka sobrang painful intercourse. Dysuria kasi magkadikit na sila, hirap na silang umihi. Natatakpan pati yung urethra nila. Okay? Kasi nga, so super dry. So for patients who are experiencing this, for dyspareunia, we usually advise use of water-based gels or KY jelly na water-based. And also, we give them estrogen, hormone replacement therapy. Okay? Kasi debilitating for some patients, lalo na yung nagdikit na yung vagina. Okay? So, I mean yung labia, not the vagina, but the labia. Okay? So, I think that would be all for this lecture. I do hope you appreciate and you learned something from this lecture. Not unless you